I get the ID, you listen to me. We have the panelist numbers as it appears on the notice. So use your number on the notice, except Honorable Chele, you can take number 9. Any other panelist, the way it appears on the notice. So George Abaja is number 2. Honorable Ken Oko, you are number 3. Honorable Lumumba Wade, number 4. Seth Kanga, number 5. Zachary Okoyo, 6. Raya, 7. Eunice Alando, 8. Ochele, 9. Now, welcome to Kisumu County Assembly, this appointment committee. And our role is to do the vetting of the nominees of the governor. I confirmed to you that we received a letter from the governor nominating you to the position of County Secretary, Kisumu County. We did advertise for your vetting, and here you are. It is our rule that before we proceed, we must take you through an oath, and therefore I would request my clerk to take you through oath. You will advise him whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, and then he will advise you on how you take your oath.
I, Hesbon Hongo, do solemnly swear and sincerely, I'll take it again. I, Hesbon Hongo, do solemnly and sincerely swear that every word that I shall utter before the committee is the truth and nothing but the truth, and that every statement and declarations that I shall make shall be made consistently, believing the same to be true, and according to the oaths and statutory declarations and act. So help me God.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Mr. Hongo, before we proceed with the introduction, there are some rules that we have in the appointment committee. But before I give the rules, we'll do the introduction. My name is Elisha Jakoraro, a Speaker County Assembly of Kisumu and the chairperson of the appointment committee. Next to me is the clerk of the committee, Mr. Chieng. And on my left is Honorable George Abaja, who is the vice chair of the committee. I will personally introduce the members to save time. On my immediate left is Honorable Majority Leader of the County Assembly, Honorable Ken Oko, who is also a member of Ahero Ward. Next to him is Eunice Alando. Honorable Eunice Alando is a member of the committee, specially elected. Then you have Honorable Zachary Okoyo, MCA Central Kisumu Ward, member of the committee. Next to him is Honorable Moses Ochele, MCA East Kanawawedi, member of the committee. On my extreme left, at the back, we have Honorable Seth Kanga. Honorable Seth Kanga is the majority whip and a member of the committee and the MCA Market Milimani Ward. The next to the whip is Honorable Nereo Kombo, MCA Manyata B, and Deputy Speaker, member of the committee. Now, I will give you time to introduce yourself, but before you introduce yourself, there are some rules. In front of you, there is a microphone. It's very easy to operate. When you want to talk, just press the button, it will come on. Once you are through with your response, you switch it off again so that the other microphones can operate. You have a pen and a paper. So in any case, a member asks you more questions, you can note them down. And then when answering, you can use, you have the leeway to start with any question that you want. If there are 6, you can start with the 6th one, go to the 3rd one, but you tell us the one that you are answering on your preference. Next to it is agenda term. If you need any assistance, you can just call on her. You will just call on her, she will be able to assist you in whatever way. We want you to feel free. And if you ask a question and you feel not able to answer or you don't want to answer, please just tell us to pass so that we go to the next question. I would want to dictate how you are going to answer. I mean, now you are going to introduce yourself. When you are going to introduce yourself, we want you, Mr. Hongo, to kindly prove to this committee that you satisfy the requirements of Section 44 of the County Government Act 2012 with regards to your education levels, requisite for the position you seek or the one that you've been nominated to serve in. You will be telling us what experience you have that makes you the best candidate for this position. So I've given you at least a leeway that as you tell us about yourself, you tell us about your education background, your work experience, why you think you are the right person to be the county secretary for Kisumu, the county, and not any other person. I am 100% sure that 3 minutes is enough for you to convince this panel. We may decide not to continue if you convince us in the first 3 minutes. But in the meantime, I need your original testimonials. So your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you, Chair. Before you is CS Hesbon Hongo, currently acting County Secretary, Kisumu County. On my education, I have a master's degree in financial management, a BCom in finance. In addition to that, I have several professional qualifications. I'm a certified public accountant, certified public secretary, certified internal auditor, certified in information systems auditing, and certified in risk and information systems control. On the position that I'm here to seek your approval, it requires that the person for this position be an experienced officer who has served in several senior positions. The candidate before you has several years experience, having served in senior positions in several organizations, culminating in my being in the county. First, I worked for the Telecom Kenya in a senior position as Assistant Manager Operations Audit, covering the whole country for a period of 5 years. After that, I joined the county as the board secretary, where I did 10 years, from 2013 to 2023. That is November 2013 to November 2023. Thereafter, in his wisdom, the governor, Kisumu County, that is His Excellency Professor Peter Nyang'nyong'o, felt it wise that I continue to serve in his government. So he appointed me the Deputy County Secretary. Then he made me the Acting County Secretary, position that I'm holding to this point for the last 10 months. With that kind of background, and having looked at my professional and academic qualifications and the experience I've laid before you, I feel I'm the best candidate for this position. 2, I'm already serving in the same position, doing the same work. So if this committee were to approve me, I would continue from the date I am approved in the same position. Thank you, Honorable Speaker and Chair.
Welcome. And going forward, if there's any question asked, you will be answering the chairperson of this committee.
Thank you, Chair.
Any member can ask you a question, but you will be addressing me while answering the questions. Just like any member asking you a question will be asking you through me as the chairperson. Honorable Benny Peter, welcome. On the extreme left there is Honorable Benny Peter Eko, friend of the committee. So before I give the first chance to the panelists, I have noticed in your documents that you have a master's degree on
Financial management.
You have a Bachelor of Commerce, Finance option, Catholic University of Eastern Africa, where you got a first class, and also a Master of Business Administration, Financial Management option. But I'm also seeing first class. Do they give our master's degree awarded in terms of first class, second class, or distinction and credit?
Thank you, Chair. In the case of Catholic University, they do grade their degrees, and masters for them is also graded. So if you happen to be the best, they will give you first class in that order, first, second. But most universities do not do that.
Is that the case to date in Catholic University?
It's still the case.
I'll give time to the panelists to ask questions. I'll start with the leader of majority.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 questions to put across. One, as the head of the county public service, you will be responsible for aligning departmental performance with the county's strategic vision. Will you describe the key performance management and accountability systems that you would implement or put in place to ensure that departments meet their objectives? And how would you address underperformance in this department? 2, you've been working as a acting county secretary, and under your watch, we've been having high wage bill. What have you done to address the challenge? And what strategies have you implemented to ensure fiscal sustainability? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with the second question, then move to the first question. On the issue of high wage bill, it is true our wage bill has been on an upward trend. I've done some analysis on the same from 2018 to present. On average, we have been paying around 393 million every month. Just slightly below 400. Initially, the wage bill used to be around 300 to 350 million when the governor took over. And with time, it has gone up. This is explained by, one, the demands from the unions, who has been seeking promotions consistently. 2, since His Excellency took over, there has been some recruitment, and this has also resulted in the wage bill going up. Now, to address the issue, first, I want to take it from the date I came in. not to apportion blame for those who are before me. I initiated what I'm calling staff returns, so that I wanted to see how many people we have in the system. Initially, I was given a figure of 5,264. With this figure, I wanted to do a head count. After the head count, I would see if there are any ghost workers within our payroll that could be immediately done away with. But on a policy issue, it would be prudent to maybe freeze employment for a period as we stabilize our wage bill. The other issue would be to negotiate with the unions, not to every year demand for pay rise and promotions until there is stability in our wage bill. On the first question, Chair, performance management is a key element in any organization. And in our case, I would not wish to reinvent the wheel. Already, there are measures in place to improve performance. But as I come in, this is what I will be looking at. First, I'll have the team in place, that is the Chief Officer Strategy and Performance. We sit down, come up with specific, measurable, attainable, what you'd call SMART goals. And I'll do this at two levels. One at senior level, that is Chief Officers and Directors, and then at lower levels. So we'll engage in what is called performance contracting. And having come up with that kind of framework, we will be evaluating. I'm saying we because I'll not be working alone. We will be evaluating this performance maybe after 6 months and seeing whether the objectives or goals that were set were met. That is for senior officers. For junior officers, we'll be doing performance appraisals maybe after every 6 months and yearly, and then evaluating the performance of the staff across the whole county. For those who will be underperforming, we will be looking at the causes of those underperformance. And then put measures in place, like if somebody is not performing because of lack of understanding of the job or the targets are too high, we would evaluate. If you are underperforming because you need training, for example, we'll train you. But if you are going to consistently underperform, then it will come to a stage that there will be separation. Thank you.
Before I give another panelist, Mr. Hongo, you are being asked about aligning departmental performance with the county strategic vision. And you're talking about performance management. As per the last SRC conference on wage bill and performance, there is the next thing that is being discussed. It's not about performance management. What is it?
The next thing that is being discussed?
That's being discussed and it's being rolled out all in the whole country. It's not performance management. People are no longer on performance management. And I'll give you a good example. If you give a secretary a letter to type for you at 8 a.m. in the morning, and then the letter is brought at maybe 11 a.m. or noon, has that secretary performed?
Not really, because the timeline, the timely action plan was not met.
What is the action plan? You wanted the letter?
You wanted the letter, yes. And it's brought past the time that was allocated for it.
So you wanted it in the day and it's been brought. Has the secretary performed?
She has performed, but not met the set targets.
So what is it that you're supposed to be looking into? You heard about productivity.
Yeah, we are looking at productivity, yes.
But you are concentrating on performance management, and people are running away from performance management to productivity. Yeah. On the same note, again, when you are responding on the wage bill, you said that you ensure that you have staff returns. So how is staff returns managing wage bill?
Thank you, Chair. I started by explaining that I would look at the numbers. The staff returns will give me the numbers. Those who are in place, those who have left, those who are coming in. Based on that, I would move further. I would have made this point. I would have moved further to do maybe a payroll audit based on the figures have been given, confirm that what is being paid is actually what is supposed to be paid. And on the issue of productivity, Chair, I agree with you. We are moving away from issues of performance contracting to issues of productivity. You may have performed, but you have not produced as the set targets. Thank you, Chair.
Supplementary question?
Chair, thank you. I want to ask the nominee. First of all, I want to congratulate the nominee for being nominated by the governor to appear before this committee. And I wish him well. However, Mr. Chair, I want to ask him some questions in relation to his performance as the Secretary of the County Public Service Board. Mr. Chairman, you are aware that when Professor Peter Nyang' took over the reins of this county, the wage bill of the Kisumu County government was around 270 million. Currently, it's coming to approximately 420 million. 420 million as a result of new employments, which were done by the County Public Service Board under his reign. Mr. Speaker, we have seen some instances. For example, when the county government announced the application for the county revenue officers and the county enforcement officer, and we have records because the advertisements appeared on the daily newspapers, indicating that the county government was intending to recruit 66 enforcement officers and around 70-something revenue collectors. But, Mr. Speaker, when letters were issued, you will find that 210 revenue officers were appointed without indicating through a rider that even though we advertise this, we are intending to recruit this because of the following reasons. And the reasons why we were recruiting these enforcement officers and revenue officers was to enhance revenue collection, which has not been realized. Yet our wage bill is incurring a total of 420 billion. As a result of that, Mr. Chair, we are interviewing him for the position of the county secretary, which I believe is going to be the custodian of the human resource in our county. And Mr. Chair, as the human resource custodian of our county, he should be able to explain to this committee why these anomalies happened. And the assembly, which is the custodian of appropriation, was not even informed. I believe you were the speaker by then and the chairman of the appointment committee to date. And I was privileged to be in the second assembly when he was presiding over the administration of our county public service board. Mr. Speaker, these anomalies are in the public domain, and we are interviewing him for the position of the county secretary. He should be able to explain to this committee why these anomalies happened And if so, if he qualifies to be the county secretary, how is he going to address this issue so that we don't find ourselves in a situation in which we are? Because, Mr. Chair, the governor did indicate to the people that he's going to do a staff audit. Those who are his campaign to weed out ghost workers and the county government workers who are not performing. Now, we are interviewing my friend, Mr. Hesbon Hongo, for that position. May he be able to explain to us how he's going to address this anomaly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hongo. I want to give you another 2 to 3 minutes to explain yourself. You are the county secretary. No, you are the secretary to the County Public Service Board. Even you yourself, you said that the wage bill was 300 million, though you didn't put the upper figure. What is it today? The panelist is talking about 278 million and currently 420 million, and is attributing the increase majorly on overemployment when you are the county secretary of the Public Service Board. So it's an opportunity for you to explain yourself about that and what you are going to do differently to ensure that the wage bill is managed. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Seth Kanga. I was the board secretary since inception. That is from 2013. Even when the wage bill was still low, like he said, gradually it has come to what it is today. Now, number one, the board secretary first is an ex officio. I don't want to excuse myself about this, but the board secretary is an ex officio member of the board. The board makes decision, he communicates. I want that to be clear. Then, on new recruitments, Chair, you are aware that any new recruitment emanates from the executive. The requests are made by the executive, the board processes. Then the board gives the selected candidates back to the executive. The executive, before they make the request, would confirm that funds are available to pay the staff they are requesting. So based on that, the board would give them the numbers they have requested for. If there is any anomaly that a figure, let's say we need, the executive needed 50 people, but they have been given 55, there should be a letter from the same executive saying, oh, you are to give us 50 people, but we've realized we needed 55. We would request for a letter from them to back that additional request. If there is any that was done outside that, when I was the secretary, I may not be aware. Two, Mheshimiwa has talked of the revenue.
Mr. Hesbon, before you continue, why should you give me 55 if I wanted 50? And then you wait for me to give you a letter saying that, you know, you've given me 55 instead of 50.
Why should I give you 55 when you needed 50?
I'm in the executive, you are the Public Service Board. I've requested for 50 people in a particular profession. Why should you give me 55 and wait for me to give you a letter complaining that you've given me more than I wanted?
No, sorry, Chair, what I was saying, before the 55 is given out, there must be a letter from the executive to explain why they need the additional staff.
When you give me 55 and I didn't request for more.
If I give you 55 and you didn't request for more, that is an anomaly. And that's why I said from the onset that the board makes the decision, the secretary communicates the decision of the board. The secretary has no vote during the decision.
Yeah. Maybe upstanding. Chair, the reason why I am talking about this is because that you are aware that the executive do request for appropriations towards employment. And Chair, we do interrogate the executive when we are on the budget making process. And sometimes you will find that the Department of Governance will tell the Assembly that the reason why we have appropriated such amount is because we are intending to recruit 60 enforcement officers. It is in the budget. So anything which is done by the county government must be in line with the budget. Because any moment you want to recruit as the head of the county human resources, the county secretary, you have to revert back to the budget. That is the guideline. That we are intending to recruit 60 enforcement officers, and it is appropriated in the budget. When the same executive requests that now we are proposing to you to recruit 5 more employees. Where are we going to get these monies from? Yet the Assembly appropriated money for 60 employees. It is not one instance, Mr. Chair. You will find they will be doing it repeatedly, thereby affecting our budget without informing the Assembly, without a supplementary budget being done towards that effect, Mr. Chair. So these are the issues which we are requesting you to address, so that as the custodian of the human resource of this county, you are aware even now as we are speaking, the county has advertised recruitment for 100 ECD teachers, which is going to impact on our human resource as we are speaking. What if, again, you advise the County Public Service Board, as the county secretary now, to add more 200 ECD employees? Where are we going to get these monies? These are the issues now we are requesting you to highlight to this committee how, if you are successful, you are going to address this anomaly so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we are. Because, Mr. Chair, you know that we always get disbursements of around 700 million every month. And you will find that 420 million goes to staff salaries. We are remaining with around 300 million for recurrent expenditure and development. And we are having a pending bill of 2.6 billion. And you are about to address these issues. When you will be successful, how you are going to address this so that we don't find ourselves in it? Okay. Thank you, Chair.
You are having one thing that you are responding to, but I think all those things that the panelist is saying is that if you are the county secretary, how will you address that situation? That's what's being asked. You're giving an opportunity to explain yourself, because I've heard you say that your work was to convey the information. You are not part of the decision making in the Public Service Board. Your work is to convey the resolutions either from either side, from the executive or from the Public Service Board. But what if a similar situation occurs when now you are the head of public service? Because the county secretary is the head of public service, including the board relies on you on such areas. 1 minute, there's something that was you are putting across, and that response, then we go to the next question.
Okay, I'll start with the US Chair. Once I'm approved, I'm the county secretary, an anomaly has already been identified. 2 wrongs do not make a right. When approved and I'm the county secretary, I don't think we'll repeat the same mistake if it was there before. And back to Mheshimiwa, I hear what you are saying, and if you give me your nod to be the CS, I will address the issue you have raised. One thing that did happen that I did not explain, Chair, in 1 minute. You find, for example, in the Department of Agriculture, they needed like 10 people. Then in the process of processing the 10 people, another 5 have retired, for example. Then they request, instead of you doing another advert, spending public resources, you've already done an advert. The kind of people we need are already in the list that you are going to select from. They go to cabinet, cabinet gives the approval, they send it to the board. In that case, the money to be used to pay these additional people is the savings from the retirees. Such an instant, but I also hear what he's saying that whenever this thing is happening, the assembly has to be put in the picture. And that, Mheshimiwa, is what we are going to do once I become the county secretary. And thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Eunice.
Thank you, Chair. To Mr. Hongo, first of all, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you having been nominated by the governor to appear before the committee as a county secretary. And as a county secretary, one of your responsibility will be arranging the business and keeping the minutes of the county executive committee. How would you ensure that decisions are recorded accurately and that action items are effectively tracked and completed? That is A part of it. There's a B part of it. What system or tools would you utilize to manage this process?
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa, and through Chair. I want to start by saying that when I was appointed the acting county secretary, the first thing I did was to automate the meetings of the cabinet. As we speak now, each cabinet member has an iPad. All our meetings are held with these automated gadgets, what we call e-boards. So our agenda items, cabinet papers, cabinet memos, and all issues to be addressed by cabinet, by the time they are meeting, are already within their iPads. Now, back to the question by Mheshimiwa. Having put in place these automated gadgets, we are now able to set our agenda and track the resolutions of the cabinet through these gadgets. Now, with this automation of our meetings, the resolutions and decisions once made are tracked within the system. But before that, I had already introduced what we call an action tracking template. I'm trying to answer your question in totality. The action tracking template is where we'll have the agenda item, the resolution of the cabinet, the person responsible for that resolution, that is the person to act on that resolution, the time, the deadline for giving back the feedback on that resolution, and a section dealing with comments or remarks, why it was done, why it's done partially, why it has not been done. So already as we speak, Mheshimiwa, we are already doing this. So all resolutions of cabinet are tracked and action points are acted on almost immediately. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we now take lesser time during our cabinet meetings. It is paperless. We are saving the county the amounts that was going to stationery. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Chair.
Honorable Moses Ochele.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair, may I take this opportunity to congratulate the nominee to have been considered by His Excellency the Governor to appear before this panel and possibly to help him in his government. Mr. Speaker, I have 2 questions, and I think I just want to put them once. The nominee, Mr. Chair, was the secretary to the County Public Service Board. So I'm just asking a question relevant to his earlier position. Considering the nominee, considering your experience as the county secretary to the County Public Service Board, what are the major personnel and policy challenges currently facing the County Public Service Board, and how would you address these issues as a strategic level in your new position as County Secretary? More so if this committee approves your nomination. Second, Mr. Chair, Mr. Hongo kindly show specific achievements from your time as the county, as the secretary to the Kisumu County Public Service Board, and demonstrate your ability to effectively manage human resources and address administrative challenges. More so, it is like you'll be using your experience from the previous position as the secretary of the County Public Service Board to enable you achieve your goals and objectives in your envisaged position. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Moses Ochele. Let me start with the first question, which dealt with the personnel challenges and policy issues. Policy challenges. Now, as the Secretary to County Public Service Board, we faced a number of challenges, even from initiation. When I came in on November 2013, to be exact, on 29th, we were appointed on 28th, on 29th, I was in the office. There were a number of challenges, both to deal with staff, facilities, and the policy documents. Initially, we were borrowing heavily from the Public Service Commission to do our work, especially on human resource management. Now, the personnel challenges, as I was the board secretary to the time I left, I think most of them are still there, like skills. The technical skills are still lacking. We are still not able to attract the best, given the kind of pay that we offer. We've had challenges with the unions, especially when they're negotiating for promotions and the rest. And on policy issues, like I've just alluded to, we had challenges with policy documents that we would use to address our local situation. So we customized some of the Public Service Commission. I'm also trying to address the solutions to these challenges, Mheshimiwa. We kind of domesticated what was at the national level to assist us at the county level. So we came up with one, the Human Resource Policy Manual, what we are calling County Human Resource Policy and Procedure Manual, to guide the management of staff within the county. Within that period also, we came up with our strategic plan, which ended in 2019. By 2020, we came up with another strategic plan that will end in 2024. These were to address the challenges that were identified before and that are forthcoming. Now, on my specific achievements, while I was the board secretary, I've alluded to some of them. One, when we came up with the County Human Resource Policy and Procedure Manual, that was a big milestone on my side and the team. Two, when we came up with the strategic plans. Three, we sourced and brought in staff to help the county. You remember initially we had staff from the local authority, staff from the national government, and later on, the Public Service Board by extension also assisted the county, to recruit some staff. Now, on one issue that I need to address, Mheshimiwa, through the chair, is the issue of that kind of mixture I've talked about, where we have the culture of the national government, the new staff, and the culture that was found here before. It's something that we need to address so that we harmonize the way public service delivery is achieved. Why am I saying so? You find that these three different cultures sometimes conflict, but we need to harmonize so that we move in the same direction. I hope, Mheshimiwa, I've attempted to address some of the issues you raised.
Mr. Hongo, based on the question that Honorable Chele has asked, that you are the secretary to the County Public Service Board, and I'm happy that you noted that you are part of the people who developed the County Human Resource Manual. If I may ask, based on that, because he was asking about achievements, the challenges, and something like that, so there is something that you did. What is the optimum county workforce that is required? What is, number two, what is the current workforce in place? And lastly, what would you propose as the best balance between the optimum workforce required vis-a-vis the wage bill alongside revenue collection?
Thank you, Chair. Our optimum is about 9,000 employees. That is from an expert who carried out an exercise for the county government of Kisumu. Currently, I'd quoted a figure of 5,264 employees as of the end of September. This is the figure we also presented to the Senate the past week when we were defending our position on issue of wage bill. Now, the balance, to strike a balance between these, I would address your last question to deal with wage bill and revenue. Let me start by saying currently, according to Senate, our wage bill is 40.3%. 40.3%, meaning we are 5.3% above the 35% that the PFM Act talks about. So only we need to work on this 5% to be compliant. Now, the wage bill here, to strike the balance like you'd asked, depends on our revenue collection. The higher the revenue, the lower our wage bill would be. They're inversely proportional, but they don't work directly as so. Inversely proportional. There are some mitigating factors in between. But if our revenue was to rise, because this ratio is based on revenue versus our expenditure. So if our revenue were to rise, our wage bill will come down. We would still go to the optimum that the expert was talking about. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Chala.
Now that the nominee has mentioned the element of revenue, and currently we are crippled by raising the optimum on source revenue. As the incoming or as the sitting county secretary, what is your opinion, or how can you advise the government on the best way to optimize revenue collection to ensure that this factor of wage bill does not become serious? Because if revenue is there, then we will not be bothered much with the wage bill. We will be paying salaries, doing projects, and ensuring that O&M is funded.
Yeah,
Minute.
Thank you, Chair. In a minute, we have a revenue board and revenue collectors. If you ask me, Chair, it pains me that our revenue levels are that low when we can collect more. I did submit a report to this committee that I did in 2008 titled Revenue and Receivables. This was for the organization called Telecom Kenya. I was the team leader in that assignment in my capacity as the head of audit operations department for Telecom Kenya. In that report, I was talking about targets and why targets are not being met. And I did that deliberately so that this committee could also interrogate that report. We discuss it. And then I see from my position now, although I'll be doing the oversight, I can fold my my lips and dirty my fingers, go into the real operational work. Forget about the policy part, because the policy part to me has failed. You remember we put in a board, and what has been there, I'm not afraid to say this, I hope I'm being heard all over, that we've not achieved what we had set to achieve. And you know what is happening around. One, back to your question, I hope my minute is not over. We've got a lot of leakages which need to be sealed. Two, I had suggested, although jokingly, to His Excellency, I hope he's hearing this, that he be the revenue collector number 1. Then the Waziris be number 2. Now that I've joined them, I be number 3, but I would like to be number 1 because he's too busy to be number 1. So that this giant called revenue is killed and killed for once. We are capable of collecting more than what we collected, because from the figures I have, from what I've seen, we can move forward, Chair. And given this opportunity, you will not regret that you ever confirmed me as the county secretary. Thank you.
Robokoyo.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, nominee. Me also start by congratulating you and being appointed to come and face the panel for the job which is ahead of you. Mr. Hongo, with your experience, you have witnessed conflicts in giving direction or priorities within the executive committee. And these sometimes affect the performance. Can you outline the systematic approach you would apply to manage this, particularly when multiple departments have competing interests or visions.
Yes, 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In a society where people are working together, you are likely to have conflicts. And within the county, within department, but there are bound to be conflicts. But let me start by saying this, Chair. We, as a government, have a vision, and the vision bearer is the governor. He said clearly that he wanted a peaceful and prosperous county, where all citizens enjoy high quality life and a sense of belonging. That was his vision. That vision should be shared by all the departments. We must be pulling in the same direction. So if conflicts arise, we've got to first diagnose the cause, what could have caused this conflict. And then two, we look at how to resolve the conflict. And in my position as the county secretary, I'll be facing this a lot, each department pulling in different direction. So I have to bring them together, maybe in a meeting, talk to them, and apply my negotiation skills or mediation skills or arbitration skills, and if possible, leadership skills. So conflict resolution becomes key. How do we go about this? Bring the departments together, tell them our shared vision is this. We have to pull in that direction. So I would communicate to them effectively what the cabinet, being the governing organ, needs done, and any conflict that pulls in a different direction should be addressed to allow us achieve that mandate. Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to congratulate Mr. Hesbon Hongo for his nomination for the position of the County Secretary. I have a very simple question for the nominee. Chair, we all understand that interdepartmental cooperation and cohesion is very key for effective service delivery, especially in a county setup where we are in. But often we find departments working in isolation.
Can you put your microphone on top of the table and then you just bend it so that it gets the waves?
Chair, I was saying that more often than not, you will find departments working in isolation, which eventually lead to lack of communication, thereby hampering effective service delivery. So I'm just asking, if approved as the county secretary, which measures or strategies is he going to put in place to make sure that departmental organs work in harmony for effective service delivery?
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Through the chair, departments working as if they are independent of the other department is very common. I would not at this juncture mention particular department, but you find that you need a service in one department, but you are referred to another department. I want to draw from my past experience when we had total quality management around 1994. What we were being told was this: if I were to come to the assembly and get an employee of the assembly and I needed any information about the speaker's office, the clerk's office, or any other person's office, that employee should be able to give me that information without referring me to another department. Working in silos, one creates disharmony between departments because others feel superior than other departments when all should be equal before the people they are providing services to. Now, to your question, Mheshimiwa, for us to work in harmony, the departments will need to collaborate. As the head of public service, I would be having frequent or regular meetings with the departments to create harmony between the departments so that as the departments work, like I said in the previous question, we have this shared vision for the vision bearer, that is the governor, that we need to focus on. So we'll have to communicate effectively, while encourage collaboration between the departments, and where there are issues of the issues that raise disparities, I would, as the head of public service or the county secretary, deal with the departments to focus them to our target, that is the vision or mission of the governor. Sorry. I hope, Mheshimiwa, I've attempted to address your question.
Mr. Hongo, you know, I was expecting you to talk about what has happened when you were already the acting county secretary. I came across some circular in line with budgeting, which comes on the 30th of August every year. And there were some resolutions that were made there, and I believe they were passed in the cabinet, where you sit as the secretary, which is trying to address some of these things. I thought you would address yourself on that circular.
Now that you brought it to my attention,
I didn't bring to your attention. It came from the cabinet.
It came from the cabinet.
It came to my attention from the cabinet. It's a circular that is shared. It's a circular that comes every 30th of August in line with budgeting. And there were some decisions that were made in terms of how the county is going to move forward in line with the departmental issues, especially working in silos. I thought you'd address yourself on the same and take a reminder and say that I've achieved this. But you are telling us what you are going to do if you are approved.
Thank you, Chair. I was addressing the question as asked, because the questionnaire asked me, what if approved, how am I going to address some of these challenges? But the one you are raising is specific, that a budget circular issued on 30th August, I believe this is by Treasury, though it came from the cabinet. I communicate cabinet decisions. I need maybe to go into the specifics of this. Sorry, Bwana Speaker.
Honorable Seth Kanga.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Hongo, as an individual or as an officer who will be responsible for conveying executive decisions to relevant stakeholders, how will you handle delicate balance between transparency and confidentiality required by the Access to Information Act? As you are aware that that's a Bill of Rights, the right to information, which sometimes we find ourselves into. And particularly when dealing with sensitive matters. You are aware that sometimes the governors find themselves in very delicate situations when they appear before, especially Senate committees. You might deem it confidential at the level of the county or at the level of the county assembly. But when you find yourself appear before the Senate committees, there will be nothing confidential as far as the access to information as enshrined in the Bill of Rights is concerned. How you are going to address this delicate situation as the county secretary? Thank you.
Yes, 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. In a minute, in government, we deal with the confidential information all the time. In cabinet, everything is confidential. Now, once a decision is made, and like Mheshimiwa says, access to information, I believe that is Article 35 of the Constitution and Access to Information Act of 2016. All that is discussed needs to be made public, but there is a but. Government information is usually classified, one into top secret, secret, confidential, and public. There is what the public can consume. There is the sensitive part the Mheshimiwa is talking about that may get out there. So as the custodian of these decisions, once this classification is made, there is what can be released and what cannot be released. Now, the public also has a right under our Constitution to consume this information. Now, there is a process of accessing this information. One will have to apply, and that application, once it's approved, information can be released, but that information will only be available to the person seeking the information for that specific request that is made. Not everything can be revealed. Mheshimiwa, I hope I've attempted to address your question.
Eunice, you can go.
Thank you, Chair. To Mr. Hongo, when a county executive decision faces strong public opposition, how would you manage the fallout while balancing the need for the executive committee to maintain and ensure public accountability?
1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. At cabinet, decisions are made, yes. Some are popular, some are unpopular. Once the decision is made, it could be affecting the public directly. So the solution I would offer to this is that, one, a decision could have made that is affecting the public that was not subject to maybe public participation because they needed to have participated in that decision. But now that it has been made and is facing opposition, we need to engage the public. Tell them or ask them, what is it about this decision that negatively affects you? They will give us their feedback. Based on the feedback, because the executive still needs to retain the authority, as indicated in the question, we will have to see how to communicate this decision by, one, having, for my case, this is what I would suggest, that we have a public relations department that will package this information to the public in such a way that they see the sense why this decision was made. Two, the decision could have been made in the best interest of the county. They're facing opposition from the public, so you need to engage them, look at the negativity of that decision, but still maintain your stand by communicating effectively through maybe our public relations department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I have one question. Ethics and compliance are integral to public service integrity. What specific measures would you take to ensure that all county public service members adhere to ethical standards? And how would you address any cases of non-compliance or conflict of interest?
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I would start by saying all officers are subject to the Public Officers Ethics Act 2003. I think that's where we draw all our standards to behave in an ethical manner. Two, issues of ethics should, I would like to address it in 3 stages, Mheshimiwa. 1, at entry level. 2, what I call stay. And 3, what I call exit. As employees come in, they are required to, in government, swear oath of secrecy. So once they swear oath of secrecy, that is the first step to maintaining ethical standard. There are requirements by other bodies that oversight the county, like ESCC. They require that you, as you come in, you declare your wealth. Even as you stay within the organization, every 2 years you declare your wealth under what we call declaration of income, assets and liabilities. And when you exit, you still will declare your wealth. Now, with specifics, when I was at the board, I came out with a department called Ethics and Governance Department to address issues of ethics. We had a whole director in charge of that department. What were we doing? We are trying to address the issue of ethical behavior. Now, when approved and I become the county secretary, I intend to roll out this because I found it to be the best practice. But for me now, it will be the next practice when I become the county secretary. So when people do not comply, for example, let me use an example of where people are supposed to declare their wealth. That is declaration of income, assets and liabilities. And you do not declare. The law requires that we stop your salary. You know, others would, because you are friends in the system, you'd say, okay, I know so-and-so is senior, we cannot do this. For me, because this question came from you, Mheshimiwa, that would be done, and it is already done. We've stopped salaries for very senior officers because they did not follow the law. The standards remains the same for everybody. I hope I've addressed everything, unless there's something I've left out, Mheshimiwa. If there's a follow-up question, I would encourage. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Hongo, in your view, what are the most significant development goals for Kisumu County over the next 5 years? And how would you leverage your role to ensure these goals are actively pursued across all departments? Thank you.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair.